Today we're going to be looking at Lunar Tides in the color Sea Witch. If you didn't watch last week's video, my camera died halfway through, so hopefully this time we get all of it on camera. So first thing you might notice is that my swatches are labeled 1 through 12. I just want to say that is not synonymous with like hair levels or anything. I do different video clips and photos and stuff near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. They are human hair swatches, but they are not virgin hair, so they've all been chemically colored, bleached, or treated at some point in their lifetimes. One is pink, just kind of wanted to see what this color would look like over a pink. 2 is a very cool toned gray. 3 is a natural red. 4 is like a soft black. And then 4 to 11 is a range that goes to a platinum blonde. And then 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So we will start by taking the color directly out of the container, and I'll apply it at the top of each swatch. And then some people do dilute their dyes, so I'll do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind, everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair can take color differently. Plus, on top of that, different screens and monitors and such can make colors definitely look different. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the diluted section, we're going to do a 2-to-1 ratio. So that's going to be 1 part of our dye today to 2 parts diluter. If you are not sure what I mean by diluter, I like to basically say that it lightens the color of a semi-permanent dye. So usually each brand will sell their own version of a diluter that you can mix with your dye. It'll usually have the same consistency as your dye, if that makes you feel more comfortable. To keep things fair between all the colors I do, I always just use the same plain white conditioner when I dilute. I'm gonna let these sit for about 3 hours so the color has some time to absorb. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I will meet you back here. So before we get into this, I do just want to say that I have an affiliate code with Lunar Tides. You can use code FLOXY to get 15% off of your order. And like I said, this is an affiliate code, so I do make a small commission anytime my code is used. So thank you very much if you do use my code. I am pleasantly surprised with this color, mostly because it is actually a little bit more unique to my collection than I expected it to be, and you'll see why when I do the comparisons in a moment. So number 1 was originally pink. That one definitely is actually the most cool toned. I'm assuming the pink in the hair kind of neutralized any of the green in the dye, so it turned out like a really... My doggy is walking around and jingling around, so if you hear that, I apologize. So the number 1 turned out quite pastel blue, almost kind of smoky. I would say the ends, I would probably not dilute it as much as I did because I still see some pink coming through. It's also a little bit more smoky or muted compared to the rest of the colors as well. Number 2 was originally gray. Now usually that is my most cool tone swatch, but today it looks like the coolness underneath mostly just darkened the color. It does look a little bit more cool toned if you compare it to the blonde swatches, but overall it has just slightly more deeper, also kind of smoky look. Number 3 was the natural red. That one's kind of tricky because on the top half it does look quite green, you don't really see a lot of the blues coming out that you see in the blonde. But on the diluted section, it still looks relatively red. My thought was maybe a color like this could neutralize out some of the red, so maybe there is a sweet spot where you don't dilute it as much as I did and it could be less green. But regardless, if you're going for a like turquoisey color, I wouldn't say it's achievable over a natural red. The green over the natural red looks a little bit more natural. I don't want to quite say seaweed, but kind of more in that realm. 4 was the soft black. I don't see a difference there. I would say number 5 still looks relatively brown on both the top and the bottom. There is a slight undertone difference on the top. It does look a little bit more green. Overall, still quite brown. And then 6, you do see a little bit more of the green coming through, kind of similarly to number 3, where it's not as blue. It's a little bit more green and a little bit more of like a natural green as well. Except this time I do see a slight difference on the diluted section. But overall, that looks, again, kind of like number 5. It's still a brown with an undertone difference. Number 7 is where you can really start to see a little bit more of the like ocean-y kind of color coming through. But I will say, especially with colors like this that are lighter, if you have hair that's virgin hair, especially darker virgin hair, it's going to be a lot trickier to get this to work for you. So I would definitely suggest doing a strand test just to make sure. And if it does dye, there is also a chance that it would just wash right out as well. Just a warning. So on number 7's diluted, I don't see as much green as I do on 8 and 9. And while the color did take over 7, 8, and 9, you can just tell as the hair gets lighter, the color changes quite a bit. And up to the number 11, it becomes a very bright kind of aqua color. Whereas on 8, 9, and 7, it's a little bit more dull and a little bit more green. So I think I would recommend having as light of hair as possible, because even on number 10, it looks nice, but number 11 just looks the most intentional in my opinion, like in person. And another warning as well, so I think the more yellow in undertone the hair is, the more chances that this will look green. I think my platinum blonde swatch, it did have a little bit of yellow, but it wasn't as yellow as some people's hair is when you bleach it. So that's also a warning as well, and also another reason to do a strand test, unless you want more green hair. And number 12 was the toned swatch. I usually describe that swatch as being kind of in between 11 and 2. So it's a little bit darker and dustier, but not quite as dark and dusty as the gray swatch originally was. So the reason I feel like this one's a little bit more unique to my collection is because all of the greenish blue colors I have either are more green or more blue. I don't really have many that are just this perfect kind of in between. So the first comparison I wanted to look at today was a more green comparison, and that's going to be Good Dye Young in the color Wondermint. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So in my opinion, I don't think it is super similar on the more blonde swatches. It's the slightly darker number 9 swatch that looks a lot more similar. So hopefully you can see just how green the sea witch turns once the hair starts to get darker. It kind of looks to me like the Wondermint is a little bit more pigmented. So if you kind of like the color that it turns on number 9 and you have hair about that color, I would recommend Wondermint instead of Sea Witch, because I think it will give you a slightly more intentional saturated color, since I don't think Sea Witch works as well on darker hair. Overall, Sea Witch is definitely a lot more blue in comparison. The next comparison we want to look at today is Iroiro in the color Turquoise. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. I was just petting my dog while I was filming here, and now I have hair all over my hands and sleeves and stuff, so if you could see that, just ignore it. Anyways, Turquoise is a color I did a little bit longer ago, so you can tell the numbering system is off. And also, I used to do 2 separate diluted parts, so I would dilute it once and then twice. So the very top here is going to be the direct dye portion. And you can see, even though it's a turquoise, it leans much more blue in comparison to the Sea Witch. And now you can kind of see the slightly green tones in the Sea Witch coming out as well. I feel like this color is really cute for Halloween, but I know it's kind of getting late in the season for that. But Sea Witch definitely has mermaid vibes, so I think the name they gave it was perfect. Now I'd like to look at the before and after clips, and those will all be done in natural lighting. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out, but just remember I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so very much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.